Crimson Desert is one of those games that feels unreal every single time it shows up. Every new trailer looks less like a video game and more like a carefully crafted illusion, something that shouldn't be possible in real-time gameplay. Explosive battles, hyper-detailed environments, fluid animations, dynamic physics, a world that looks alive, violent, and unpredictable. Crimson Desert doesn't just want to be good. It wants to be unforgettable. And that's exactly why it might become either one of the biggest successes in modern gaming or one of its most spectacular failures. Crimson Desert is developed by Pearl Abyss, the studio behind Black Desert Online, a game known for many things: stunning visuals, fast and stylish combat, technical ambition, but also criticized for its grind, monetization, and lack of narrative depth. So from the very beginning, Crimson Desert carried a strange duality. On one hand, it's backed by a studio with serious technical talent. On the other, it's a studio stepping far outside its comfort zone. What immediately sets Crimson Desert apart is its technology. Pearl Abyss built its own engine, and it shows. The lighting reacts naturally to time of day and weather. Cloth hair, armor, and capes move with physical weight. Destruction isn't just visual, it affects the battlefield. You're not just swinging a sword at health bars. Enemies stumble, fall, collide with the environment. Momentum matters, positioning matters. Combat looks brutal, grounded, and cinematic without sacrificing player control. And then there are the boss fights. Gigantic creatures that feel more like environmental threats than traditional enemies. Battles where climbing, timing, and spatial awareness are just as important as raw damage. Moments that feel closer to Shadow of the Colossus, Dragon's Dogma, or even Monster Hunter, but filtered through Pearl Abyss' signature speed and flair. But combat is only one piece of the puzzle. Crimson Desert is also promising large-scale warfare on a level rarely seen outside scripted sequences. Massive armies clashing in real time. Siege weapons firing across the battlefield. Explosions, chaos, soldiers reacting dynamically rather than following fixed animations. If this system works consistently, it could redefine how large battles are handled in action RPGs. However, ambition has a price. Originally, Crimson Desert was announced as an MMO. Later, Pearl Abyss rebranded it as a single-player open-world action RPG with optional multiplayer elements. That shift alone is massive. Changing the core identity of a game mid-development often signals internal struggles, unclear vision, technical limitations, or creative uncertainty. Pearl Abyss insists that this change allowed them to focus on what truly mattered: story, immersion, and player-driven experiences. And this is where Crimson Desert becomes truly risky. The game now centers on a narrative-driven experience following Cliff, a mercenary leader navigating a brutal fantasy world torn apart by political conflict, war, and betrayal. Pearl Abyss claims that story is no longer secondary, that it's a central pillar of the experience. But storytelling has never been their strong suit. Creating a compelling narrative isn't just about lore or world building. It's about pacing, character development, dialogue that feels human, moments that resonate emotionally. Games like The Witcher 3, Red Dead Redemption 2, and even God of War set an incredibly high bar. Players now expect more than spectacle. They expect meaning. If Crimson Desert fails to deliver on its narrative promises, the entire experience risks feeling empty, no matter how impressive the gameplay looks. Then there's the open world itself. Crimson Desert promises freedom in every sense. Vertical exploration, climbing mountains, gliding across landscapes, infiltrating fortresses from any angle, approaching combat situations creatively instead of following rigid paths. This kind of freedom is exciting, but it's also incredibly difficult to design well. A massive world can easily become repetitive, filled with activities that look different but feel the same. Beautiful environments with nothing meaningful to do inside them. Open world fatigue is real, and players are no longer impressed by size alone. Crimson Desert doesn't just need to be big. It needs to be dense, reactive, purposeful. Another looming factor is time. Crimson Desert has been in development for years. Every new trailer raises expectations higher and higher. At this point, the game isn't competing with current releases. It's competing with an idealized version of itself. And that's dangerous, because when expectations reach this level, being good isn't enough. Being very good might not be enough either. Anything less than exceptional will be labeled a disappointment. But if Pearl Abyss succeeds, if the systems work together, if the combat stays engaging across dozens of hours, if the world feels alive rather than artificial, if the story lands emotionally, then Crimson Desert could become a turning point. A game that proves technical ambition and artistic vision can coexist. A statement that studios outside the traditional Western RPG space can compete at the highest level. A new benchmark for fantasy action RPGs. So Crimson Desert now stands on a knife's edge. Too ambitious to play it safe. Too expensive to quietly fail. Too hyped to fade into mediocrity. It has everything it needs to become a masterpiece. And every warning sign of a project that could collapse under its own weight. Crimson Desert will not be remembered as an average game. It will either be remembered as one of the boldest successes of its generation, or as a reminder that ambition, without perfect execution, can turn promise into disappointment. And that uncertainty, that risk, is exactly why everyone is watching.